Welcome, everyone, to episode 66 of Canes Local. We'll talk today about round one of the playoffs, look ahead at round two, and much more coming up next. All right, so let's take a look at the wrap up of round one for the Hurricanes. Kind of a weird game to close out the series on. I think it's game five, come in with a lot of expectation, a lot of hype, and a lot of hope that the Canes would take away and close it out and not have to go back to New Jersey. Well, it didn't look like that early, so. The game was just it was like a tale of two games. And, the first period was god awful. So what's the takeaway? I have a few takeaways from the game, but what's the takeaway from game five that you hope either does or doesn't happen in the next round of the playoffs?
I hope Freddy's healthy.
Me too.
A little bit joking, a little bit not. I think the first three, not all fall on Kochetkov. I would say probably two of them are a little bit less than what we would want. And as Cam said it best, if we had Andersen in that period would have ended 1-0, not 3-0. Outside of that, the whole team as a whole didn't have any jump in that first period, but in all reality, they're playing against a team we talk about desperation. New Jersey had the most desperation out of anybody at that point because they needed to win in order to keep alive. That's how every team that's down in a series plays. They play with mass desperation. And you know what I enjoyed out of Carolina, though? They responded with the same desperation after the first 20 minutes. So that's what I did enjoy out of Carolina. I thought Kochetkov settled into the game nicely. We still got to figure out that whole issue that he has where he lets up a soft one or two. Like, that's just can't fly, and it's starting to become an issue now. But outside of that, I thought post the first period, if you wipe the first period away and you just look at the other 3 periods of hockey he played, I thought he had an okay game. I thought he played okay. But we definitely could use Freddy back, and he's just a little bit calmer. The team plays better in front of him. But holy cow, let's talk about this team. What happened to the scoring problem we had in playoffs, apparently?
Yeah.
We can score at will now. It's keeping the puck out of our net. I feel like it's half our battle.
Yeah, well, it's when they don't start on time. I mean, we put a lot of it on Kochetkov, and it is, he's got to learn how to keep the team in the game. Like, you just, unfortunately, even if the guys are playing bad in front of you,
you're not supposed to have.
Yeah, like you got to make one or two of those. You do. I mean, especially if you're going to win a series against a team like Washington. So you're going to have to. You're going to have those moments where you have to bend but don't break, and Freddie had a lot of those, which was great to see.
Yeah,
and hopefully it looks like he's supposed to be a full go in practice today, which is good. And again, I think the first game is supposed to be Tuesday, I believe. Game one. Mm-hmm. So they'll probably fly out Monday, so he'll probably get another practice in. They'll probably have another one tomorrow, and then
tomorrow morning, before they fly.
And then they'll probably fly out, I'm assuming, sometime Monday afternoon. But yeah, it's just it's tough because, now we our eyes are kind of open to, okay, well, if Freddie's hurt, it's kind of over. Like, it was fun, but if you go down in the first against a team like Washington 3-0, I doubt they're letting that lead up. Against Florida, is like you imagine any of the other teams that they got to get through. Florida, Toronto, even. I mean, Toronto's probably the easier of the three, I would think, but. Yeah, I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, and I think the thing with the kid, and I was talking to Kyle, I think you and I talked about it yesterday, but when he's playing without a confidence level, because when he's playing well, he's playing controlled. He's really tracking the puck really well. He's tight. He's not moving all over the place. He's not flopping around. And he's doing that now. He's back to that when he first came into the league. He was doing that all the time. And that was really symptomatic of him having struggles of keeping the puck out of the net. because he tried to almost like overcommit. He was making decisions. He was overthinking the play rather than just taking a step back and just playing within himself. And we started to see a little bit of that towards the end of the game, which was good. But we're going to need him because if Freddie's not in, then I'm with you guys. I think it's going to be a really tough road to get through Washington, because you can't go down 3 goals in Washington. It's just not going to happen. The comeback's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different story. So the one bright spot, though, I will say, out of that first period, I thought was Andrei Svechnikov. I thought he was really good. I thought he was on the puck. He was all over the place. He was the only guy I thought on the front side that was going. I mean, outside of maybe Jackson Blake, but I think Svetch was really that he's the X factor for us. If we get Freddie back, if Svetch is going the way he can go and the way he's been going the last handful of games, then I think we got a good shot. We got a good shot at going pretty deep into this run. So we'll see. But I did like his game.
I think he had 7 goals in the first round.
Yeah. So and he
It was
had like
5, yeah.
nine shots.
5, sorry,
He
yeah.
had like
Yeah, a
9
couple
shots
of,
in that
6 or
game.
7 points.
So he's all over. His fingerprints were all over the game. But man, after the first period, the second period, as soon as they scored the third goal, I was like, okay. I was like, they're playing with some grit here, and they know what they need to do, and they don't want to. I mean, honestly, they don't want to get on a plane and go back to New Jersey. They don't want to.
Rod didn't want to go back to New
They
York.
don't want to go and sit in an airplane and go to a hotel, and they didn't want to do that. They want to stay home, and they played like it. And I tell you, star of that game was, I mean, for the Devils, for sure, was Jacob Markstrom. I mean, he was unbelievable. After
Yeah,
the
he was.
halfway through the second period to the second overtime, he was absolutely amazing. That game should have been won 10 times over before it even got to overtime. But he didn't. He played with as much desperation as I've seen in a goaltender. If you could play like that every game over game, he's a Vezina every year. I mean, every year until he's too old to play.
Yeah.
So anyways, I liked the way we finished, and I think we carried a lot of momentum into, that confidence is going to carry forward in a lot of
Yep.
ways.
100% agree. And if Freddie for some reason can't go, I still have faith that Kochetkov will figure it out. I'm gonna have blind faith until he's gone. Basically, is the way I've started to look at it. So just disregard me and my fandism. I don't even think that's a word. But
I
just
we make shit up as we go here.
Hey,
So
Yeah, it's fine.
if we can forget that first period and the rest of that game, he had a good game. But outside of that first period, that first period killed him. So if we can stop that period from happening, he has a good game.
I know.
I mean, overall, granted, the third and overtime, I think in overtime he saw 2 shots.
Yeah, he got 3 in the first one and like 1 in the second overtime.
Yeah,
so
didn't see much rubber in those 2
But
periods.
again,
But
he made it. He made the saves when he needed to, and because I mean
that game could have been over after the first overtime with Jesper Bratt after Burnsy just soft rims it up the boards right to him.
Yeah, and it was. I looked at it as soon as it happened. I was like, there's no way this game is ending on that play. There's no way.
Yep.
We've absolutely dominated.
But that's a tough save.
It was. It wasn't.
Tough
it
save
wasn't an easy save. But
he usually gets better as the game goes on, generally. But yeah, if he sees a lot of shots from the outside early, he generally can kind of work into a game. Where Freddie, it doesn't matter. He's gone. He's on from the start. He never really has a lapse or anything. Maybe as the game wears on, he maybe falls off like in an OT or something, like with the OT goal that they gave up to Nemec. I mean, I didn't love it, but I don't think the Canes deserved to win that game either. So it was kind of, they got dominated in overtime. So, but yeah, no, it's good that they got them done in 5. They got basically a week's rest. I think it's a full week, basically rest to rest up for everybody. I know obviously there's a lot of guys that are probably dealing with a lot of stuff. So especially Freddie. So hopefully Fred will be back and it'll all work itself out. But yeah, I mean, it was a good series. I think a lot of people kind of swept New Jersey under the rug, but they forget that even though they were missing, Jack Hughes, they still have Jesper Bratt, Nico Heischer. Like they're going to be very good for a very long time.
Yeah.
And also, like, Brett Pesce was their best defenseman by a mile. It was not close. Like it really wasn't close. Like I know a lot of the guys were dealing with injuries, but I mean, so was Pesce, but still, like you look at a guy like that, and they need guys to help them. They need to shed Dougie. They need to shed a lot of dead weight that they have on the back end, and they're going to be scary. So they're going to be a team that's going to be good for a while. They finally fixed their goaltending problem. They've had that for forever, I feel like. So yeah, they're looking good, but it's good
the
for
one
Canes
thing I noticed about New Jersey, and I agree. I think down the road they're going to be. I mean, they're good now, but but I think the way they work the puck, the way they play a very Sheldon Keefe like game, because there's a lot of motion. It's always everybody's changing positions. It's like
losing in the first round. That's
there
right,
is no,
Sheldon Keefe.
I was
Sheldon
about to
Keefe
say
type
that is a
hockey.
recipe to lose in the
I know
first
that,
round. I'll tell you that for free.
if let's be fair, they didn't have a really full roster, so they were down
on the D side,
on the D side significantly. So I'm going to give them a little bit of rope here, but I like the way they played. I like the way they moved the puck. I'm glad we won. Don't get me wrong, but I do think that they're going to be somebody to contend with, for the years to come, year over year. They're not going to go away. They're not going to fade away. And if Markstrom still plays that way, he's going to be. I mean, if he can be consistent like that, he's an elite level goaltender.
Well, I have a slight hot take with that team is as Sheldon Keefe is their head coach and they're playing this style of hockey, they will never win a first round series.
They need to get heavier.
So it's not even maybe a little bit on the heaviness. You can't play free flow hockey in playoffs. You can't. You have to play strict structured positional hockey in playoffs. Because if you play free flow hockey, look at what happened with Toronto.
And there's only
now all of a sudden they have
one team that
structure
can do that,
in their lineup.
Yeah, that Colorado team in 22 was about the only team that could play line rush hockey and just beat the wheels off everybody.
You look at that lineup though; their third line was team's first lines. Like they had depth.
That's what I mean.
I mean that second line.
They just had. They were just so deep.
Guy, they were so deep. They added Cale Makar for playoffs. That was the only time he came in. He came in at playoff time, and then. Granted, very rarely are you pulling a defenseman out of college and he's being that much of an impact player. So that's a agreed, very different story. Outside of that, look at what Toronto is doing now versus what they were doing. Yes, granted, they made it to the second round, but Dad, you pointed it out. Toronto have passed, and same with New Jersey, let up a boatload of shots and rely on their goaltender to bail them out. Now Toronto, I think the most shots Ottawa had all series was 23, and that was in the double overtime game. Like they didn't allow anything, and now all of a sudden you look at all those games, they look way more comfortable winning those hockey games than they ever have before. And I don't think it's just the players. I think it's the way they play.
Yeah.
They got a little bit heavier, 100%. But New Jersey's heavy. Their back end, I mean, granted, it's Dougie Hamilton, but he's a big dude. Brett Pesce's a big dude. Nemec is a big dude.
Yeah,
Hughes, when he's playing, big dude. Like, they're big. Yeah. But they don't play.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They play way too free flow.
They don't play nasty either. So they got to get a little bit more anger to their defensive side of the puck. They got to play, kind of. I think like Florida. I mean, granted, you can't take it over the edge and hammer guys in the back of the head with a shiver with a forearm. That just doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen, but. You got to play with that kind of nastiness on the back end, and you got to make them work for it, and know that you're going to be there every time they come down the ice, and it's not going to be fun going in where you're going to go. So
yeah.
So anyways, good segue though, Kyle.
Yeah,
good segue.
We'll sorry. Final thing I want to do on the series. Let's do 3 stars of the series. So who we'll start with you, Cam. Who would be your 3 stars of the series overall?
I mean, it's probably just everybody. Well, I'd say in no particular order because I think they all had their moments, but probably Ahos, Fetch, and Freddy. Those are my 3. Like, I think those 3 kept the Canes in the series. So, not to take anything away from Jackson Blake, I think he had a very timely goal. Same with really Stankoven as well. I mean, he really should have been his. I know it was his goal, but it should have been Stankoven's goal. But
Well, it never crossed the
No,
line.
I
mean, it
get
was,
it. He did the
but
work, I guess.
he did everything. I know
Yes,
Hall
he
was there
did.
to clean it up, but again,
Yeah.
he did. Yeah. So those three
I'm
for me.
glad Halsey was there to clean it up because everybody stopped playing thinking Staycove had scored on the first
Yeah.
shot and it never went in.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he did follow it
Yeah.
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I'm with Cam. I think those are my three as well. I can't.
I got Aho third star, Fetch second star, Freddie
Yeah.
first star.
Yeah.
So that's how I laid
Yeah.
it out. I don't know how you guys want to lay it
Yeah,
out,
I
but
think
For
it's
me,
it's
it's any of the
very
three. You can throw them
very
anywhere.
you could kind of throw a blanket over them, quite honestly.
yep.
Um, so yeah, so I think we'll table round two. Let's before we head back into the second round. Let's kind of take a look around let's see how we did. We'll go into what
Yes.
we laid out our predictions for the first round. And so, Cam, you don't know this, but Kyle and I came up with a scoring system yesterday offline. So,
All right.
if we got the team right, you get a point. If you get the number of games right, you get a point. So, and you got nothing, even if you get the number of games right. But if you lost, you didn't get nothing. So, you had to get at least the name right or the team right, and so on. So anyway, so the Canes, Kyle, you got both. So which you got 2 points in that one. Cam, you and I got one, and the Caps. I was out because I picked the Canadians. You guys each got a point, and then Kyle was out on the Leafs. He had the Senators, I think, in 6
Mm-hmm.
or 7.
No, I had Senators in 7.
7.
Both of you guys got
So
2 points
we
in that
got
one.
2 in that one, Cam, you and I, and then Panthers. Both you and I, Cam, we took a crapper on that one, so we both picked the Lightning.
I don't know what happened to the
Which
Lightning.
Let's
I did
go.
not see that
They
coming at
buried their
all.
head in the sand. I don't know what happened to him.
Uh,
Vasilevsky just is not. He's not. He doesn't have it anymore. I don't know.
yeah,
Doesn't have that killer instinct. But
They have the same problem New Jersey has. They play too free flowing offensive hockey and not enough heavy game, and that's again it didn't work. It doesn't work for them when they don't have their big bodies like a Pat Maroon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what they're missing. They're missing depth heaviness.
yeah,
That's the only thing that and when in all honesty too, if Tampa goes up against any other team other than Florida in the first round, they're through the
yeah.
first round.
I wouldn't
So
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you there. But it was just a shock to me.
it was very surprising.
So anyway, so Kyle, you're the only one who got a point in that one. And then the Vegas game. I mean, we all picked Vegas. Didn't none of us picked the series correctly, but we each got a point there. And then Kyle, you're the only one that picked the Oilers. So you'll score 2 points there. Cam and I are
oil country.
taking a
I'm
goose egg
surprised.
on that one again.
I know.
So right
And
now,
there's 2 series that left to go.
yeah, right now, Kyle, you're sitting at 7. Cam, you're sitting at 5, and I'm sitting at 4. So before we head into the Canes round 2, let's talk about 2 game 7s coming up here. One today and one tomorrow. The one tonight, I think, is going to be epic. I think it's going to be Avs and Stars. It's going to be must see TV. I think if you're not a fan of either team, I think it's going to be one of those games that's going to be an absolute track meet. It's going to go back and forth, and I think and I saw a stat this morning, and I thought you guys would find this interesting. But in this is the 199th game 7 in NHL history. Tonight's game,
Yeah.
but Pete DeBoer is 8-0 in game 7s.
Yep. Hasn't lost one
And
yet.
Nate McKinnon is 0-4 in game 7s.
Ooh, I didn't know that
Yeah.
stat.
So
Oh.
I think this game is going to be the turning point for that record. I think the goose eggs on both of those records are going to go away. I think the Avalanche are going to win in Dallas. I just think that they're gonna find a way to work through that, and they're going to come out on the better end of that. So I think Dallas is. I think they're great at home, and I could be completely wrong, but I'm gonna still stand by the Avalanche winning tonight in Game 7 and breaking that record for Nate McKinnon.
I am going polar opposite of my polls. I think Dallas has this thing locked up. I think they're too good at home. I think that while yes, Nate McKinnon, I would argue, is one of the best players in the world, he doesn't have much help outside of him. And he hasn't gotten much help. And he hasn't really been playing his best hockey either. So, like when your top dog isn't running, it's hard to continue going. I don't know why. I just feel like Dallas is going to take this one. I don't want them to because I want that extra point. I want to be at 8 points instead of 7. But I do think Dallas is. I think we all underestimated them. I'll tell you what, Thomas Harley, Dallas might have 2 number 1 defensemen. Like genuinely,
Mhm.
Thomas Harley is ridiculous,
He is.
and then they're missing Miro Heiskanen
Yeah.
still. Like, talk about. I mean, we before the series even, I had Colorado in 4. I didn't think this was going to be a series. I thought without Miro Heiskanen, Colorado's going to run all over top of them. No,
Dallas
after
is
game
heavy.
1, yeah, it even looked like it. Dallas is heavy, man.
They
They
are.
play a big game. They play physical. They play in your face. And you want to talk about depth? They might have the most depth in the NHL right now.
They finally got Rantanen going too.
Top, yeah,
4
top to
points
bottom.
last
Like
the
if
last
you,
game. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, well,
I know they're
like
that was another stat in a playoff series. Was it a game? I think it was a game actually. That there's only been two players or one set of players in NHL history on the same team to get 4 points in a game, and that was Rope Hintz and Mikko Rantanen. And I don't know if it was they were the first or they were the second or third in NHL history to do that. But yeah, no, they're good. But I'm going to still hang my hat on Nate taking this game over and everybody else elevating to him and to get to the hump because I just not that I don't want Dallas to win, but I want Colorado to move through. I like their team better. I like maybe it's the Rantanen factor, I guess, but I just maybe I don't want to see him have success, but I'm still going to still stick with the Avalanche.
uh,
I think Carolina beats the Dallas. I don't know if they can beat Colorado. That's why I want Dallas to go through.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I guess for me is that I think Heiskanen's close and Robertson's close as well. So they both could come back within the next week or two. So if Dallas wins this series, they're probably looking at coming back some point in the second round. I'm assuming maybe if they win that round, then going to the conference final. But I don't know, man. I after watching after game 1, I thought Colorado was going to kind of run away with it. I really
I
did.
did too.
And then I saw game 6, and Colorado fans, please don't come after me, but I mean, they got the luckiest bounces I've ever seen to get those pucks to go into the net. Like, I mean, they had the best puck luck I've ever seen, and I think that's what they need in order to beat Dallas. I think they need a lot of puck luck because Natchez is, typical playoff Natchez, man. Like, I think he has 5 points through 6 games
Who?
or something like that. Yeah, exactly. So it's
Yeah.
again, it's just they shed Rantanen and pick up Natchez, and it's definitely a downgrade for him. And Nate's got to carry more of the bag than ever before. Even Kale only has like 5 points, I think, too. Like he only has a goal and a
Mhm.
couple of assists, which is kind of
That's
surprising.
wild to say
I
in
know.
the playoffs. Oh yeah, he only has 5 points. It's like
Yeah,
that's
but
crazy
I know.
still. But in his level, that's not
Yeah.
good.
No, it's
Like that's
he needs
wild
to
though.
he needs to be at least a point a
He
game,
needs
if
to be
not
at like
more.
10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. I think in a low scoring affair, I probably would pick Dallas just because I think I trust the goaltending more from Ottinger than I do from Blackwood. Blackwood's had a great series though, and they've both kind of had their bad games, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think Dallas is going to win this. I do.
Well, we'll find out tonight, but and then tomorrow night another game 7. Two. I guess this will be the 200 in NHL history. But and
Yep.
how about St. Louis Blues? I'm telling you, they're just like they're clawing and scratching. I mean, and I didn't realize this. I'd forgotten this though, is they actually had to win the last game of the regular season to get in,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and now they're taking it to a game 7 against the President's Trophy winner. So that in
Yep.
itself is, I mean, there is zero pressure on the St. Louis Blues.
None.
There's none. I mean, if there was a team that had less than zero pressure, it would be the St. Louis Blues right now. So I think the Jets are going to really tighten up in game 7. I think they're going to get tight. And I think St. Louis is actually going to win that game.
I think so
And,
too.
and I think
I picked them to win the series, so
that's going to be the outcome of that one, because like I said, they played that way last night and the Jets just couldn't get out of their own way. And then Hellebuck was in his own head. I mean, he was. I don't know if you guys watched the game, saw the goals. I mean, the only one that I give him some rope on is the one that Cam Fowler scored from the point. He just couldn't see it. There was like everybody other than Fowler and the other defensemen were in front of the net, so he just couldn't see it. But everything else, you could tell it looked like he was in his own head. So that leaves the question: who starts in Game 7, Hellebuck or Comrie?
I mean, I think they.
I don't see.
I think they start Hellebuck.
Yeah. I don't see how they go. I know I made the
I
joke.
get what you're getting at,
on the
though.
phone,
I mean,
but
it is a question that they have to ask themselves. But
I mean,
I think at the end of the day, they go to Hellebuck.
yeah, but you give up that many. You give up that many goals.
Oh, I know.
And it's like how do you I know Arneal is going to come back. He's going to come with Hellebuck, but he's got to be questioning whether or not he should or he shouldn't. I mean, look at what they did in Edmonton, and don't get me wrong, Hellebuck is not Stuart Skinner, but
No.
they went
I was about
but
to
they
say,
went
no
to
way.
Calvin Pickard.
One of them's up for an MVP.
Yeah.
One of them
But
is not.
MVP
no,
and the Vezina.
I get that. But what I'm saying is that they go to a guy named, and Calvin Pickard's a good goalie, but I mean, I still think Stuart Skinner's better when he's playing right, when he's playing well. But they make a change, and look what happened. They win 4 straight. So you don't know if it's not because he's not a great goaltender, but does it change the way the team plays in front of him? May loosen up the teammate, may take some of that tightness out of the game, and produce that offense that they need to do against St. Louis. And Jordan Bennington, man, I tell you, he just keeps getting better and better and better. And I mean, he made a couple of saves last night. I mean, 2 or 3 that should have gone in. And that's exactly what he does. And we saw it in 4 Nations, and I know ad nauseum we're going to keep talking about it, but he's a gamer. And so I would take him in a Game 7 situation over any other, really at this point, over any other goaltender in the league on my team.
Yeah,
That's
and
my
again,
hot take.
Before the playoffs started, I said to myself, I'm never going to bet against Bennington again, which is why I picked St. Louis to win the series. So he's just, I don't know, man. He finds a way to just make that extra save. He finds it. I don't know how he does it, but he just does. And I do think, in a tight game, it favors St. Louis. I think Winnipeg has to come out and they have to score early.
Mm-hmm.
If the first period ends 0-0, St. Louis is winning that game. I fully believe that. I really do. So, because again, St. Louis has been able to basically null and void the Winnipeg power play. So
Mm-hmm.
they've basically been non-existent, but it's been a struggle. Again, Winnipeg's not as heavy as St. Louis is. St. Louis is very heavy, especially on the forward side. That's why they get all that traffic in front, because the D can't clear them out. They can't box them out.
Yep.
Because they're not heavy. They got, Morrissey, who's what, 5'10"? He's not very big. Yeah.
It's bad, man.
Outside of Morrissey, though, they are a very heavy defenseman. They got Logan Stanley, who's about only thing he's good at is being heavy.
I mean,
that's
even that he's not good at it. Like, he's not obviously he's not boxing him out well enough. So
Braden Shen as well too. Granted, the 2 guys that were on the ice were Morrissey and who's Morrissey's partner, Pionk,
and they're both
the 2 guys on the ice.
They're both like
those
5'8".
are 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's their small pairing defenseman.
And it's their top
pairing.
outside
of that. Yes, agreed.
That's what I mean. So they're logging the most minutes. You need your top pairing to be big and heavy, which is, as much as we hate Burns, at least he's, 6 foot, whatever, at least he's a big body.
At least he's big.
At least he's big, He's not the greatest, but at least he's big.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see.
Here will be my hot take for this game. I think there's only 1 goal scored with a goalie in the net. I think this game finishes 2-0.
I could believe it.
And I think Winnipeg goes through. I think Hellebuck finally figures it out and posts the shutout this game. So I'm putting that into the universe now. He's probably going to get lit up for 9. So we'll see what goes on.
I think it's gonna. I think it's also going to be tight. But again, I was with St. Louis since the beginning. I know I kind of was dogging them after the first 2 games because I thought that Winnipeg was just going to roll them over, but they showed some fight, and you
forget how long these series are.
I know. That was like, it feels like a month ago I was making that prediction, but and
you say that, it was fun. It's funny you say that, Kyle, because I was watching a show yesterday, and they did a sit down with Heinrich Lundqvist and Chris Chelios and Gretzky. They all sat down. They had sort of a little round table, and Lundqvist was sort of the moderator, asking questions, and Chelios said something that I was like, kind of interesting. He said, "I didn't, I didn't even think about regular season." He says the only thing I thought about was playoffs. He said, "How do we get to the playoffs?" He said, I didn't give a shit if we finished first or eighth." He's like, "Now, when you're in, you're in. It doesn't matter." He's like, "We just now you figure out a way to win this game. You win the next game. You win the next game. You don't worry about what's going to happen in January. You don't worry about what's going to happen in February. You worry about what's going to happen on Tuesday, and then you worry about what's going to happen on Wednesday. So I thought, I hadn't really thought about it like that, but I didn't know a lot of players thought that way. It's like, do they really focus on the regular season or next year or the year after? But for him, it wasn't anything about other than playoffs. He's like,
Yeah. So a team like Ottawa or Buffalo or Montreal worries about the regular season.
yeah,
Because they have to worry. But a team like Florida is not worried about the regular season. You want a perfect team like Carolina is not really worried about the regular season. Those are the types of teams, the teams that know they're in, and this is why Chelios can make that statement because he played on Detroit for however long he did, and they were a guaranteed lock in playoffs every year. Of course, he never really thought about the regular
well,
season
when he
because
was
didn't have
younger,
to.
though, I mean, he played for the Canadians and he played for Chicago, and so he played.
So the Canadians, when they made the
Yeah,
playoffs, he was playing with
yeah,
them. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that all the teams he was on all made playoffs naturally
pretty
just
regularly.
because of how
yeah,
good they were. It wasn't so much if he was on a bottom feeder
yeah.
team, 100% he's probably thinking about the regular season. So I get what he's
Yeah.
saying, but
No, I
yes.
know. And the other thing too that I found was interesting, and this is sort of it, ties back to us a little bit, but his first game in the NHL was at the Forum. And his first shift, he started his first game 35 seconds in, or just after, almost literally just after puck drop, they got scored on. A shot down the wing, and it was the Hartford Whalers. So the Hartford Whalers
Oh
were
yeah.
they scored. He gave up the first goal on his first shift to the Hartford Whalers, who were basically back then were the bottom feeders of the National Hockey League. So
Yeah.
so
That is
anyway, so
interesting.
let's steer off that, and we'll come back, and maybe we'll wait till, I don't know if we want to do second round predictions later, but let's talk about the
No, we'll
Canes.
do second round predictions now since we have 3 guaranteed, and then we will off air we'll predict the fourth one and then get the
Yeah,
graphic posted
yeah.
as well
So
too.
so I think we'll talk round two. You know, Canes.
Let's start on the West Coast, then
Okay,
we'll rotate.
we'll
We'll
finish
finish
on the
on the
Canes then.
Canes Cap
Okay,
series.
so
Yeah, finish
Oilers
on the
and
Canes Cap
Knights.
series.
Man, I tell you what, it's going to be a tough. I think does Vegas? I think Vegas has home ice.
I think
So
so.
Yes, they
yeah,
do because they're the one
yeah.
seed. Yep.
So so who wants to go first? Um,
I'll take it. I'm
I
not
know.
betting against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So, and even more so after the first round
Yeah,
that Vegas had, because in all honesty, that Vegas team is not a Stanley Cup contender. The one that we saw. I'm not saying that the pieces they have in place can't be a Stanley Cup contender, but what we saw against Minnesota, who we all thought Minnesota was going to be a little bit of an easier series for them, turns out Minnesota dominated that whole series, just didn't get the bounces to go their way.
yeah,
I mean, like that was really the big turning point. And granted, it's tough when you don't have the same depth that Vegas does, and I think depth really prevailed in that series. But I mean, we want to talk about depth. I know you guys kind of joke a little bit about it at the Toronto of the West, but Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl combined for 3 points in the last 3 games, and they scored 9 goals. Like they had depth scoring. They had scoring throughout the
yeah.
lineup. And if Edmonton's getting that and they have a possibility of getting Matthias Ekholm back for the second round, I I'm not betting against the Oilers. I got Oilers in 7. I think this one does go the distance. I think both teams are very good, but I think Oilers take it in 7. Actually no, Oilers take it in 6. Sorry. They're gonna win. They're gonna win on home ice.
Okay.
I don't. I'm gonna probably. I'm gonna go Vegas. I just think Vegas can and probably will do it. Honestly, I mean, I know they got obviously McDavid and Draisaitl have shown they can just carry a series by themselves, and they have some depth scoring. The only question mark for the Oilers is the goaltending. If they can get consistent goaltending, so
I'd argue the same with Vegas.
no, I agree for sure. And I just I don't know. I just want. I guess I want Vegas more than I want the Oilers
That's
to
fine.
go through
Yeah.
for sure. So I'll go Vegas. I'll go Vegas in 5. We'll go 5. We'll
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. I like it.
make it a train wreck.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Really.
If that happens, that is a bold statement, and you deserve those 2 points. That is 2 points well deserved
Yeah.
if that happens.
Yeah. I'm. The more I saw the games, I'm kind of leaning your way on this one, Kyle. I think Edmonton with those two guys, if they can continue to play like they're going to play, and if they do get Ekholm back, um, I just think that they're they're riding a little bit of momentum now. You know that we didn't necessarily see heading into the playoffs. I think they're back on that train again. Um, and like I said, we could be completely wrong, but I think the Oilers are still they're going to come out on the good end of this one. And I'm gonna go the full distance though. I'm gonna go 7 because I think they're not too far off, and again it could easily go the other way, but I'm gonna stick with the Oilers in 7.
Yep.
So
But
since we don't know the next West, let's head to the Leafs Panthers. Cam, we'll let you go first on this one since Kyle went first the last time.
Yeah, I think the Leafs are better than they have been. I just think the Panthers are better than we've ever seen them. I think this is the best Panthers team that we've seen. Obviously, they won the cup last year, so they're the best team in the league right now. But I mean, I still am kind of in awe at how they just dismantled who everybody thought was going to probably go to the cup final. I think I had them picked to go to at least the Eastern Conference final.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, man. I'm kind of at a loss. I'm not going to bet against Florida. I just think they have the better goaltending. I think they're heavier, they're nastier. They've already won it. I think the Leafs are coming into this with their most of their top guys not going. I mean, Nylander's going. I think Marner's had a couple points. Same with Matthews, who's had a couple points here and there. Um, yeah, I just think Florida beats them up. I really think that's kind of what happens. I'm going to take Florida in 6.
Okay.
Florida and 6, I like it.
All right.
Um,
So what do you think, Kyle?
I wholeheartedly agree with Cam. I'm sorry, this Toronto team, yes, they're good, but you're gonna get bullied. But part of me is like they don't allow a lot of shots. So if they can somehow do that against Florida as well too, maybe they're in with a chance.
Florida
But
doesn't
I
get a
just
lot of shots
I don't.
though. They're the same way in that Tampa
But
series. I mean, all the games had like each team had sub 20 shots. I think at the end of the game, pretty much every game.
yeah, to me, and this might be a bold statement, based on how the two teams played, at least in playoffs, I thought Toronto played a weight. Granted, they were playing different teams. 100, I get that. I thought Tampa had a way looser defensive zone than Toronto had. So I think it's going to be even less shots for Florida than they got in that first round series. The one kind of X factor in this series to me is the whole point of Tree Living building this decor the way that he built this decor was he specifically said we have to compete with teams like Florida. That was his exact verbiage when he was saying why they're going out and getting, Tana, while they're going out and getting Carlo, while they bolstered up the back end. They made it a
Benoit.
very big, heavy back end. And they did a good job at that because they wanted to take on Florida. That was the whole point of this kind of exchange. And I'm with you, Cam. I just think Florida has too much. Don't be shocked if Toronto does somehow squeak out this series. I just based off of the pure amount of hockey Florida has played as of late, but also, when you have $40 million in IR sitting on the IR for the last month of the season, they're probably a little bit better rested than most other teams.
Yep.
So you got to think that's Reinhart, Bennett, Ekblad, and Tkachuk were all sitting out. So 4 of their most important players sat out basically the last month of the season to just rest up.
Yeah.
So I think Matthew is still dealing with something. So I'm gonna go Florida in 7. I think it does go the distance. I think Toronto's got a better team than they have in the past, but I also would not be shocked if Florida sweeps this series. So, like, I'm just kind of stuck in the middle
Yeah.
here. But I think Toronto's got more kick than they had in the past. So I'm going to take the Panthers in 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna go off the board on this one because I think that I think that I think Toronto did enough in the offseason to bolster their decor to handle and withstand the Florida onslaught. And like I said, I could be completely wrong, but I like the feel that I'm getting from that decor. Yeah, the guys up front haven't really lit the world on fire.
That's what I'm more worried
It
about.
is,
It's
it
not the
is,
decor; it's more the
but at the same
offense.
time, I think they.
Because if you couldn't score against Ottawa, think about Florida.
No,
They're
I
as
get it.
stingy as
I get it.
Toronto is.
I get it. And it's a valid argument, but for some reason, I feel like they did enough on the D side to make it an absolute boring series and a juggernaut from a defensive side. That they're all going to be tight games. They're all going to be low scoring games. They're all going to
Yeah.
be.
It's going to come down to
It's
goaltending.
I think
really
so
it
too.
is. So I think. But I'm going to go.
You're taking Stolars over Bob.
I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go off the grid on this one and say I'm going to go with the Leafs in 7.
All right. The Leafs are making an Eastern Conference appearance for the first time, and I can't tell you how long if that comes true. So
Yeah, and then we'll
that would be a.
close with the with the hometown crowd here. I
If any of us goes Caps, we probably don't deserve
we
to be
no
on the
we don't.
pod.
We're
But
gonna go. We're all gonna go with the Canes. I'm quite certain. And I'll go first on this one. Is I just think the Canes, if Svechnikov is going, if Freddie's in net, if everybody is, kind of elevating their game, which we saw at the close of the last game. I think we saw some good stuff out of a lot of players throughout that series against the Devils. I think they do match up really well against the Capitals, actually. I think, the Capitals are physical, they're heavy, they're going to play that kind of bully game. It's just you gotta push back. You have to have that pushback, and we saw it in the last regular season game against those guys. That we pushed back and they didn't like it. So and we took over that game. So I think that's where I think our speed. We have to play our speed game. We have to play with a ton of speed. If we come out flat like we did in the first period against New Jersey in Game 5, man, it's going to be an absolute train wreck because Washington will take advantage of that. So I'm going to go Canes in 6.
Canes in 6. All right.
Yeah. I think I have. I mean, obviously, I have the Canes. I'm thinking 6 as well. I could easily see this going 7. I think it's going to be really tight. I think it's going to be. Obviously, the Canes have to win one on the road. They have to.
Yeah.
So if they win either game 1 or game 2, I have confidence this will go 6. If they don't win game 1 or game 2 and they have to win game 5, I mean, it's going to have to go 7 for me, obviously. But I mean, it's going to be tight. I mean, I think the Canes they're at that point where I think most people are probably going to pick Washington to beat the Canes
Yep.
at this point. I think so. At least I think. I don't really know. I don't know what the odds are, like any of the betting sites or anything like that. But
Carolina is favored to win the cup.
that's
Somehow.
crazy.
Every
I
year.
bang my head against the wall whenever I see that stat.
Yeah,
But
I know.
anyway,
It's because we're analytical sweethearts. We're the best analytical team in the thing. But
Yeah.
again, analytics doesn't lead to playoff success.
I know.
So that's why we're always odded better.
It's crazy. But yeah, I think if you don't allow Washington to get started, I think and realistically, the only reason they won that Montreal series was because Montembeault got hurt. If Montembeault didn't get hurt, I think that series goes 6 or 7. I really do. I think he was playing very well. I think Dobus is good. He let in a couple soft ones that cost him the series, and you can't let in soft goals against a good team like that. So they took how many games did they go to overtime in that series against Montreal? And I think Montreal's a
I think 2.
2. Yeah. So I don't know.
I
I
could be
think
wrong on that though.
yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
I think out of the two teams offensively, I think New Jersey is better offensively than Montreal because I think Montreal is power play is very
One
good
line
and they're
deep.
one line deep. That's about it. Their decor is suspect. Gooley's very good, obviously. Hudson's very, very good. They got some veteran guys back there too, but I just think overall, as a whole, I think that New Jersey was the better team. I think New Jersey in a 7-game series, I think New Jersey could have beat Montreal even with the guys they were missing. I still think they could have beat them because I think the goaltending Markstrom beats out Montembeault and Dobus, and I think their forward core is way better. Decor, you can make the argument, but yeah, I mean, I think the Canes will do well, but again, they have to get the heaviness early, and they have to stay out of the way of getting into the mess with Tom Wilson. They
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
because he's going to try. He's going to try, and he might succeed at some point. But
Yeah.
you got to just keep your head up. Just try not to get run over by that guy, basically.
Yeah,
And
because the penalties are. I mean, you got to stay out of the box too, because you're going to have Obi kind of
yeah,
lined up on that right side, and he
and
just
then
going
you're going to have to dedicate one guy to him. Literally
to
going to
because
have a guy within stick length of him the
he's going to
whole
be
time,
there. He's not going to
and
move.
it's a
He's
four
just
on three, and
yeah,
that's tough.
yeah. So
Yeah. I I think Carolina matches up extremely well in this series. I think I very much agree with you, Cam. I think if Montembeault's in that series, I don't think we see the Capitals into the second round. I genuinely think that Montreal could have taken that series. I have little to no faith in Washington's goaltending. So I don't see how. I granted without Andersen, I kind of feel a little bit the same with us at this point, but you never know. But I think even with Kochetkov lining up against Logan Thompson, I think Logan maybe edges him a little bit, but it's not like that big of a gap in comparison. And now with Freddy in net, I think it's a huge gap. And if we get Freddy of the first, if we get Freddy of New York last year, then not a big gap because he let in a lot of softies last year. But if we get Freddy from that first round, we got goaltending for sure. It's going to be staying out of the stupid stuff. They're going to try and get you into it. How as many close games as you can play is going to be better because if you're only up by a goal, it's going to stop a lot of the dumb crap from happening. If you're up by 6 goals, that's when all hell is going to break loose, kind of thing. I got Carolina in 5. I think they win. I think they split on the road in 1-2. They win both at home, and they went out for game 5. I think they win 3 in a row. I just don't have much faith in that Washington goaltending. I think that you saw a lot of cracks in their armor as far as defensively goes in that first round series, and you want to talk about a significantly harder team if your decor is struggling already. Montreal doesn't have a forecheck. They do,
No,
but they don't really.
Not really.
It's not like, I mean, very few teams have a forecheck like Carolina does. If your D can't break the puck out clean with a team that's not really heavily forechecking you, what do you think's going to happen against a team that can forecheck as good as any other team in the NHL? You are going to get hemmed in your zone a lot. So it's going to be very reliant on them getting power play goals, them getting odd man rushes, and then if we can limit the odd man rushes and limit the power play chances, it's going to be a quick series. It's just as simple as that. I think we've done a really good job to be stingy defensively. We didn't really give up that many odd man rushes against New Jersey. We just got to continue to do the same. The power plays is where you're not going to get an 0 for 11 power play this series or whatever New Jersey was. So that's not going to happen.
Yep.
You're going to get a power play goal against 100%. You're going to give up one. So it's about limiting those opportunities to really solidify yourself and allow, as bad as they've been, and I'm going to say this just bluntly, as bad as the refereeing has been this playoffs, you got to have faith in them that they're going to eliminate Tom Wilson from being a complete and utter goon.
Yeah.
He's going to hit you hard. He's going to hit you. He's going to. Like he's gonna take runs at the defense. He's gonna take runs at forwards. He's gonna hit you. You gotta have your head on a swivel. You gotta try to avoid it as best as you can. But any of the over the top dumb stuff, I think that's gonna get cracked down on. As much as I think the NHL had a good showing, quote unquote, as far as numbers go with the fight on the bench, I don't think the NHL liked that very much. I think the NHL as a league was like, this is a little bit too bush league for us. So I think anything that's out of the ordinary from Tom Wilson is going to lead to a suspension because he was the one that jumped onto the bench to start the fight. So like, again, I think that they're going to have a very tight leash on him. X factor in the series for Washington is Dylan Strome. We can shut down him. We shut down Ovi. So you just got to shut him down.
Yeah, because he has statistically their most ozone time percentage wise.
He's their best player. Dylan Strome is their best player, as crazy as it is to say with having the greatest goal scorer of all time on your team, but he is their best player. But if you shut him down, Ovi's not scoring.
Correct.
So you have to shut him down. He's your sole focus. It's very similar, and I'm going to use a soccer reference, but City this year was terrible. But that was because they realized they don't have to shut down the striker, the scorer. They have to shut down the distribution to him. So if you shut down his ability to get the puck or get the ball, he's ineffective. And it's very similar to this Washington series. If you can stop Ovi from getting the puck, as hard as it is sometimes, but you just like stop his distribution, he's not going to be effective because he's not a guy who's going to create anymore.
Right.
He can't create off of his own. He needs help at this point, and that's irrespectable. He's 39 years old. But like it is one of those things. If you stop his distribution, I don't think they have enough depth scoring in order to get them far in playoffs.
Yeah, I think the Canes as well. I think special teams is going to be a big factor because if obviously the Canes are 100% of the PK so far in playoffs.
That's another big thing too. Is you look at Montreal's PK in the regular season, they were like 23rd on the PK. Carolina was first. So Montreal was I think 74%. And I could be wrong, very wrong in this number. I'm pretty sure they're like 74% on the PK through playoffs.
Yeah,
so
like 76.
They're going,
but yeah.
That's going to be a different story for this Canes series. I don't see Carolina dropping to a 77% rating in the playoffs.
They maybe score 2 power play goals the whole series. So and Montreal had the best power play, second best third. Sorry, I'm looking down the list now. Okay. They're the fourth best.
Just
power
keeps
play.
getting
worse. God, well, Los Angeles had a 40% power play percentage. Good Lord, and they still lost that series. Anyway, but yeah, I mean the Canes power play too, 31% through the first series. I mean, if you would have told me their PK was going to be 100% and their power play was going to be over 30, I would have said you're lying. Like you didn't see that in the start of the year, and obviously through the rest of the latter half of the year, the power play was awful. It was so bad. It was like 8%, I think. It was awful. It was below 10%. But yeah, I mean, I think if the Canes can shut them down on the power play, 5-on-5, the Canes match up really well. I think the Canes are deeper than Washington is. So, and I think they can forecheck way better than Montreal can. I think Montreal is a good team, but again, if it was Washington playing New Jersey, like if that was the matchup, I think that series goes 6 or 7. So,
yeah, I don't disagree with you. The one thing, if your special teams percentage is above 120%, you're winning the series. So Carolina through the first series was at 5%? They had 35% on the power play.
Yeah.
131%. If you're over 120%, you're winning.
So by that you mean a cumulative between the power play and the penalty kill.
Yeah.
Cumulative between the two. If your special teams is over 100, really the rule of thumb is if you're over 100% in the regular season, you're going to make playoffs. If you're over 110%, you're an elite team. If you're over 120%, you're winning any series you're in. So Carolina, again, over 120%, they're going to win that series. They got to kind of do something very similar. Anything over 110%, I'm very happy with, and I think gives us a really good shot.
Yeah.
So if we have a 90% PK and a 20% power play, we're in it with a chance. That's where we got to kind of be at. So it's like whatever those two numbers to get over 110% combined, we got to be in that range.
So
Yep.
what do you got the series at, Kyle? How many games?
I said
You did?
5.
Okay.
I said 5. Yeah, I said 5.
All right.
So
Okay, cool. So what we'll do a little differently in round 2 is we'll go we'll make it so there's 2 points for each versus 1. So 2 points to get the team right, 2 points to get the correct number of games, since there's only 4 games or 4 series instead of 8. So it'll give us a chance to get
you
back
guys are just trying to catch up.
back into
Jeez.
it. So yeah. So what are you scared? If you're scared, then you
That's
sound
right.
really confident.
No,
in your
it's
pick.
just I built this nice
picked
lead,
the-
and then I get a debris caution, and all of a sudden the field's right
Well,
behind me again. Like,
it's all the way it works. But it's we
Oh.
could catch up quite nicely tonight if well, I shouldn't say that, because we could catch up to you though with depending on how the Jets and Blues series comes out. So we're all going to get 1 point.
I'm just saying this is like NASCAR giving a double points race at the end of the season, just
we're
to keep it
making up- we're
interesting.
making
Well,
up
what's the
as we
point
go
of me
along.
racing so damn well all
We're
season?
making up as we go along. So anyways, so final shift around the group. What do you guys? Anything else to add before we hang up and send everybody on their way?
No,
Nope.
I'm all set.
My final point: you don't lose a series until you lose at home. So no matter what, I got to stop basing series off the first 2 games, because in all reality, the first 2 games doesn't really mean anything because you didn't play your 2 games at home yet. So first 2 games, you don't lose a series until you lose at home. So that's the way I look at it now.
Yeah.
Because again, I thought St. Louis was dead to right after 2 games.
they were too.
I thought Edmonton was dead to right after 2 games. I thought there's a couple different teams that I thought were complete dead to right after 2 games. So the series isn't over till you lose at home.
Yeah.
But that's all I had.
All right. Well, we'll close it out. Send everybody on their way. But again, we thank everybody for hanging in there with us. So we're just under an hour. So yeah, we got there. So gave us the edict that I needed to be under an hour. So we're good. But
Made it work.
until next week, if you haven't subscribed, please do, and share and send us comments. All of our social platforms, and we'd love to answer questions if we could. Be kind of a cool aspect of what we do. So until next week, for Cam, Kyle, and myself, have a good week.